parents to join them on it and that kind of thing. And a year later, they sent me a picture. And that was so a year later. There's two things about this. First of all, Bruce has lost 100 pounds. Hillary's lost 85 pounds. But the other thing is, this Hillary and Bruce had never exercised a day in their life. Bruce said to me, when you weigh as much as I do, you don't want to see people, you don't want people to see you jogging down the road or jiggling everywhere. But when they lost that weight, their energy just started coming up. And they felt like exercising. And they became sort of athletes. You see this number, their first half marathon. They said they wanted to send me a picture of how they felt like exercising and taking care of themselves. So in other words, this diet doesn't just help you lose weight. It changes your view of what's possible. It changes your view of what you can do and what you can accomplish. And the idea of all these limitations that you have, they start melting away. Don't get me wrong. There are bumps in the road and nothing is perfect. But on the other hand, the sense of power that people get by being able to finally conquer what's really been bugging them every single day of their lives, it's a wonderful thing. Now, unfortunately, most Americans are going in the wrong direction. The Department of Agriculture, the USDA, has been tracking what Americans eat since 1909. And I wrote an article for the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition last year where we tracked the changes. Back in 1909, your average American ate about 124 pounds of meat per year. Well, over the next 100 years, you're 75 pounds higher than that. In other words, your average man or woman is eating 75 pounds more meat today, one person, per year, than they were a century ago. And you know what it is? It's chicken. Chicken intake has soared dramatically. Americans now eat, believe it or not, more than 1 million chickens per hour. We're convinced it's health food. Oh, this is better than red meat. Let me tell you something. It's even without the skinless chicken breast has about a quarter of its calories from nothing but chicken fat. We're eating so much chicken now, thinking it's healthy, and we're in the worst shape we've ever been in. Let me say a special word of condemnation for cheese. A century ago, the average American ate less than 4 pounds of cheese per year. It just wasn't our thing. But somewhere around the 60s or 70s, people figured out fast food chains can sell sandwiches. Quickly they have meat and they have cheese on top. And then pizza places figured out that you can call them, and in a half hour they got pizza for you, which is basically a crust that's used as a vehicle for delivering cheese. The Department of Agriculture has a lot of programs. In fact, this will surprise you, but the USDA signed contracts with Wendy's, Burger King, and other fast food chains, specifically to promote more cheese. And if you're interested, I can show them to you. The idea was to promote American agricultural products, and they were wildly successful. As of 2005, we were well over 30 pounds per person per year. As of 2011, we were at about 33, 34. I'm talking your average person is eating not only 75 pounds more meat every year, but we're eating 30 pounds more cheese every year. Where are we putting it? Well, we're not done yet. Sugar is falling. Sugar is this blue line. It's falling. But we're making up for it with high fructose corn syrup. That's the green line. We add it together to get the red line. And we're eating more sugar too. So why are we overweight? Could it be we're just not exercising enough? No, it's not that. What it is we're eating 75 pounds more meat, 30 pounds more cheese, 30, 40, 50 pounds more sugar every person every year. I'm not eating any of that, so someone else is getting on. The tragedy starts in childhood. This is childhood overweight. 4% back around 1960. 1 in 3 now. These foods don't win. And parents think, well, I'll give my kid a cheese pizza. That's got to be healthy, isn't it? And they're feeding these things to kids. We're killing our kids. And the worried expression on this child's face comes from the fact that you see my next couple slides. 1 in 3 children is now overweight. And this is diabetes back in 1994. Here's North Dakota, where I've lived. Less than 4% of the population had diabetes. Here's Louisiana, Mississippi, more than 6%. But that was 1994. And 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. See, diabetes doesn't wait. It just comes right in. Here's 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. Now, we can change the colors for some political reason. But But the trend is just continuing. So diabetes comes roaring in, not just here, but this is happening throughout the rest of the world because all the world is following these same trends. You've heard this. In China, they have factory farms. Meat intake has increased 50% in the last 10 years. They're having diabetes now. India is a traditionally vegetarian country, but vegetarianism is more and more looked at as quaint. And something that our parents did, but may not really relate to modern life. They're having more diabetes than just about anywhere else on the map. But I don't care how old you are, things can turn around. This is Vance. Vance's father was dead by age 30. Vance came into our center because he had diabetes. He was diagnosed at age 31. He was in his late 30s when he came in. And all we did is we said, stop counting carbohydrates, stop counting calories, all the things that we tell people with diabetes to do. Instead, get the animal products out of your diet, keep your goals really low, that's the whole program. He lost 60 pounds. He stopped his diabetes medications. And hemoglobin A1C is the test that we use, and this will not be on the test. But he was 9.5, which is terrible. He went to 5.3, which is essentially normal. His doctor said, if you came into my clinic today, I couldn't diagnose you as ever having had this disease. And can you imagine what that feels like? You've had family members lose their feet, or their eyes.
Yep.
Or they're on a dialysis machine and they know if they don't go there, they're dead, and they're dead anyway, pretty soon. 75% of them die of cardiac death, and they lose at least a decade of life. And you've been told, wait a minute, the dietary changes you made reverse this condition. This is Nancy. Nancy was, I forgot to tell you about this. When I was asking his permission to share his story, he said, make sure you tell people about what men really care about. And
I know.
he was in a new marriage. And diabetes affects blood circulation throughout the body. The blood supplies the heart, and to the brain,
and to the other
and to a man's private part.
Yep.
And so he had impotence, erectile dysfunction. You see, the male's sexual anatomy is sort of a hydraulic system, and it was obviously devised on a Monday because things were going wrong with it all the time. We need really good blood. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So this is his problem. But about 4 or 5 months into the research study, he's on this vegan diet, he's losing weight, he's doing better, his blood sugars are improving, and he came running into our research center to tell me the big surprise he had. So I'm working on a new book called The Vegan Sex Power Diet. This is Nancy. Nancy was about 60 when she joined the study, and she lost 40 pounds, she stopped all her diabetes medications, her hemoglobin A1C improved. But her arthritis improved. She was cooking spaghetti at home. And she cracked open a jar of spaghetti sauce and she poured it into a pan. And she just stopped. She looked at her hands. Because, you know, if any of you have joint pain, you know that people who make those vacuum-packed jars are sadists. Because you can't open them. You've got to find somebody else to open it for you, or you get little gizmos to open it up. She just opened it up and she realized she had no joint pain. And she came into our center and she said, this is a diabetes study. Why is my arthritis here? And I mentioned to her that I wrote a book about 10 years ago called Foods That Fight Pain. Because I was awestruck by the fact that a lot of people, this happens a lot, where people with arthritis, it goes away. Or it improves. Or people with migraine headaches, they improve. Sometimes they're just flat out gone. And people with menstrual cramps, all kinds of common aches and pains improve. Or sometimes they go away. I don't mean for everybody, but quite often this is the case. And without going into great detail, certain proteins in the diet trigger the production of antibodies that then attack the lining of the joint. And the biggest offender is dairy protein. So the protein in milk or in cheese. Well, that was gone from her diet for diabetes reasons, so her arthritis went away. And if you ever want to see a person stick with their new healthy regimen, just make their pain be gone. And that person's never going back to the foods that hurt them. So, what do we want to do? We want to avoid these bad guys. We want to eat these guys. And that's really pretty simple. So, again, by fruits, grains, legumes, vegetables. Now, people will ask you questions about getting complete nutrition. I just want to walk you through this for just 1 second. For those of you who are vegetarian, I know you're sick to death of this question.
Where do you get your protein?